Let's talk about the soil food web. So the soil food web is a community of animals. It is an ecosystem, very important ecosystem. It exists below the ground, and the soil food web is what makes the difference between resilient plants and not resilient plants. The soil food web gives us proper nutrition. The soil food web could store a lot of carbon. The soil food web could restore our water cycles. The soil food web could empower the soil to store a whole lot of carbon, take it out of the atmosphere and put it into the ground to grow healthy, resilient plants. So let's look at and see how that works. Click on this and then click on this, and here we are. So soil food web, this is from the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. We're going to come back to it in a minute. For now, I want you to see that we're going to start with the sun. The sun shines on the plants. The plants put energy into their roots. The roots exude carbon, sugars, into the ground and create organic matter, and also these the nematodes, the fungi, the bacteria, they feed off of the plants and the organic matter, and then on up the food chain till you get to the ones that we can see, birds and mammals. So from left to right also, the first trophic level is, trophic means energy, so it's the transfer of energy. First trophic level is photosynthesis. It's the sun shining on the plants. The second trophic level is decomposing mutualists, pathogens, parasites, and root feeders. The third trophic level is shredders, predators, and grazers. The fourth and fifth trophic levels are both higher level predators. So, we're going to see bacteria, fungi. This is referring to the graphic we just saw. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, or microscopic worms, microarthropods, arthropods, birds, mammals. So let's go back up and take them one by one. Bacteria are among the smallest microorganisms. They are the bacteria and fungi really start the food chain. Actually, the plants start the food chain by exuding sugars for the benefit of the bacteria. The bacteria and the fungi feed off of each other. Protozoa feed on the bacteria. Protozoa are, if a bacteria is a golf ball, protozoa are like a basketball. They are much bigger than the bacteria. The protozoa include the flagellates that have a whip to get around on. The cilia, the ciliates get around with their many legs, and the amoeba get around with their kind of pseudopod or a little foot. But that's the protozoa. Nematodes are microscopic worms that come in all sizes. Some of them feed on fungi, some of them feed on bacteria, some of them feed on other nematodes, some of them are omnivores, and you can tell the difference between these by looking at the mouth parts under the microscope. You also have microarthropods, which mean arthropod includes insects and spiders, but the microarthropods are the small ones that are almost too small to see with the naked eye. And then arthropods are bigger than that. That includes insects and spiders. It includes, beetles, ants, crickets, etc. And then at the highest trophic levels, you have birds and mammals. So those are the different things that constitute the soil food web. And the point of all this is that we take this intricate system and we destroy it with tillage. We destroy it with chemical fertilizers. We destroy it with biocides, including insecticides, fungicides, etc. This food web could do a whole lot of good for us in terms of climate, in terms of water cycles, in terms of delivering nutritious food. We need to respect the soil food web. So these this graphic is arranged into trophic levels like this. This represents the transfer of energy from the bottom of the food chain up to the top, so to speak. So you have photosynthesizers, which means plants, but also some algae and bacteria. Some bacteria are photosynthesizers. The next trophic level is decomposers, like decomposers, pathogens, parasites, and root feeders. Fungi are decomposers. Bacteria are decomposers. Protozoa are decomposers. And then you have shredders, predators, and grazers. This includes your microarthropods. And then you have the higher level predators such as nematodes, and then earthworms would be included in this. And then you have even higher level predators such as birds, mammals, even reptiles, amphibians. So those are the trophic levels that we see. So we're going to look again at the soil food web in a little bit more detail. Same graphic. You have the sun on the left. All energy on Earth comes from the sun. It shines on the plants. The plants have chlorophyll and inside their chloroplasts, and that's how they do photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is where you take sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide and turn it into sugars and oxygen. Not just sugars, but it starts with simple sugar, and then out of simple sugars it makes more complex carbohydrates, and then proteins and lipids and enzymes and things. So the sun shines on the plants. The plants put much of their energy into their roots. The roots exude sugars, and the bacteria come running. The bacteria and the fungi say, party, cake and cookies, let's have a party. And then the nematodes, so the nematodes feed off the plants, the fungi feed off the plants, the bacteria feed off the plants and the organic matter. And then the next trophic level, the arthropods feed off the nematodes feed on the fungi, protozoa feed on bacteria, and then the next trophic level, you have the arthropods, the insects and spiders, the centipedes, the millipedes, crickets, ants, pill bugs, and so the arthropods are feeding off of all this, and the nematodes are feeding off of all this. And then at the top level, the birds and mammals and the reptiles and amphibians. So all this represents a transfer of energy. This is a tremendous way to utilize the energy of the sun. If we're not utilizing the energy of the sun, then, we're not optimizing. When we destroy the soil food web, which we do with tillage, with chemical fertilizers, with biocides, insecticides, we are failing to make proper use of the sun's energy. The soil food web serves to take the sun's energy and utilize it to create food and also store carbon in the soil. And when you have the soil food web, it not only stores carbon, but it also stores water. Carbon and water tend to flow together. And when you have a growing, developing ecosystem, carbon and water are flowing into it. And when you have a decaying, degrading ecosystem, then carbon is being released and water is evaporating. So, now, how to grow healthy soil. So we want to avoid certain things and we want to do certain things. So what to avoid is tillage. If we want to have the benefits of this soil food web, we avoid tillage. There's a time to till, but that time is rare. It's kind of like you till maybe if you want to reset everything. It's like restarting your computer. You don't do it every 5 minutes. And we shouldn't be tilling every year. And when we do till, it should not be too deep. So avoid chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers are salts. If you throw salt on an earthworm or a slug, it's going to shrivel up and die because salts absorb water. It's going to suck the water out of the soil food web. Chemical fertilizers that provide nitrogen, they are a temporary benefit, but there's a big price to be paid. There are different ways for plants to get nitrogen, for example, and chemical fertilizers are by far not the best way. There's much better ways. Avoid biocides such as herbicides, fungicides, and insecticides. Avoid excessive weeding. And avoid excessive mowing, cutting, and clearing, because the weeds are plants. Plants benefit the soil. When we weed too much, when we mow too much, when we cut too much, when we clear too much, we're killing off the plants, which are the best thing for the soil food web, according to Dr. Christine Jones, among others. So, how to grow healthy soil in landscaping. And there's landscaping and there's farming, two different things. So these are the things to do as opposed to the things to avoid. But how to grow healthy soil: bring in organic matter such as leaves, limbs, logs, wood chips. This serves as mulch and water retention, and it becomes soil, as opposed to what we normally do, which is we get rid of our organic matter. We send it out as yard waste. The organic matter is a reservoir of water, and it serves as mulch, and over the course of time it becomes soil. When we send it out as yard waste, we're getting rid of our best assets. Keep your organic matter on site. Don't get rid of it. And make and use good compost. Compost can include, you want some brown and you want some green. The brown is the leaves and wood chips. The green is manure or food waste or grass clippings. The brown is high in carbon. The green is high in nitrogen. And you put them together and you leave it long enough for it to heat up a couple of days, and then you turn it. And you do that several times. So how to grow healthy soil in a farming context. These are the things to do. We talked about the things to not do. These are the things to do in a farming context. This is from Gabe Brown. Always have living roots in the ground. Gabe Brown, Christine Jones, people that know regenerative agriculture, people that know soil, say that the best thing for soil is to have living roots in the ground. As opposed to what? As opposed to keeping your crop fields bare for half the year. On average, worldwide, crop fields are bare for half the year. It's a huge waste. Keep living roots in the ground, because plants are going to take the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and exude it through their roots and get and keep the whole soil food web going. Nurture diversity of plants, diversity in the soil food web. So diversity means diversity of plant species, also at the level of plant families. You want diversity. Incorporate animals. All ecosystems have animals. So what we don't want to do is to separate the animals from the plants. You want to have animals graze your crop fields at an appropriate time. Maybe surely after you've harvested, but incorporate animals somehow. So I recommend this book, Dirt to Soil by Gabe Brown, One Family's Journey into Regenerative Agriculture. It features the 5 principles of soil health, and it's just a tremendous book. I've read it a couple of times. I keep going back to it as a reference. Gabe also reads his own audiobook. He really does a good job with that. Gabe is from North Dakota, is in North Dakota, and this is a story about how, when he took over the family farm in the 90s, it was 4 years of failure. He literally had to switch to a more nature-based agriculture because he could not afford the inputs. He could not afford the fertilizers. So excellent book. It was #1 agriculture book on Amazon for like 4 years in a row, almost 4 years. This one is geared toward gardeners, although I think gardeners and farmers would both benefit from both books. But this one is written for gardeners, Teaming with Microbes. Jeff Lowenfels, he was a garden writer for decades before he started to understand what he had been doing wrong, what he could be doing right. Jeff Lowenfels will teach you how the soil food web is put together and what you can do about it. Conclusion: soil is among our greatest resources. All we've ever seen in gardening, farming, forestry, and horticulture is how to abuse, degrade, and deplete our soils. In many ways, our job is to do the opposite of what we've always seen done. The payoff will be enormous in terms of climate, nutrition, biodiversity, and profitability. That's all. Thank you. It's just so important to understand and respect and nurture the soil food web. Thank you.